Habershaw to see exactly how this correlates to the world site plan. Correct, Mr. Habershaw?
That's correct. I think I put a note on there that those carry those lines to the property boundary.
So having said that, Mr. Edelman, could Mr. Habershaw provide with a copy of your submission?
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Habershaw, could you provide Mr. Edelman a copy of your submission?
Sure.
If you go to the fourth page,
Okay?
so is this compromised in conjunction with the fourth page or the sixth page?
Which is, you saying, are you saying, this Paul Edelman, that the compromise, the quote, current on the table conservancy compromise is in conjunction with the fourth page of this middle or the sixth page? That's your question?
That's my question, and the reason why I asked that is because it looks like on the fourth page, the easement dedication has 11,618 feet. And on the sixth page, it shows 16,562. So the corridor on the Wyndham side, on the sixth page is 40 feet, and the corridor on the Wyndham side on the fourth page is 32 feet. So for clarity purposes, what I was trying to do is, which one are you referring to?
I think that's an impossible question to answer because dealing down by Stanley Hills, that is very clear in the conservancy diagram, what's stated. As you get farther up into the top part of the property, there is a slight difference between what's on the conservancy map and both pages 4 and 6, as far as the back area. Along with the parallel window. So, can I offer a suggestion?
Yes, please.
It looks like the conservancy diagram took some extra land off the back of Wyndham. Probably it might work with the commission to use this diagram to describe the page 6 diagram, to describe the potential corridor width, I guess of 40 feet, behind 2244 Stanley Hills Drive, in order to provide a graphic that is very clear about the back side of the property. I think that's the only operative document we have before us. And that's acceptable, that 40 feet in the back of the property.
Mr. Edelman, what I'm trying to do right now is, the original proposal on the side plan was first submitted. The corridor narrow around Miss Wyndham Road was 18. And there was an additional request made for a corridor going through the side, and you informed us that there had been a compromise reached to reduce the width of the corridor. Now the corridor is just being proposed, and that was because of the fact that additional, if I understood you correctly, the corridor next to Wyndham Road was increased. I have two site plans, which one shows 32 feet, and the other one shows 40 feet.
Oh, now I understand.
So the question became, when you agreed to the compromise, or as far as your consultation and proposed revised plan that was submitted, you mentioned that you took into consideration the additional corridor on the Wyndham side. Was that taken into consideration 32 feet, or was it taken into consideration 40 feet?
Paul Edelman, 40 feet.
So going back to circle number one, in terms of Mr. Commissioner, to clarify what you're saying, is that Paul Edelman's current proposal is based upon the exhibit that was provided by Mr. Edelman, along with the exhibit that was provided by Mr. Habershaw, which shows a corridor towards the Wyndham side of 40 feet. That's correct.
Resolution, correct.
22 feet on the Wyndham side, as far as
It was based on inclusion of additional area up towards Wyndham other than the original 20-foot strip that was in the Conservancy's 2008 letter.
actually it's 18-foot strip that we have up there on the Wyndham side. 18 feet was increased to 40.
Okay, so all of it moved forward based on that Wyndham strip growing.
This is quite a few.
I'm looking at one of the original proposals. The first proposal that was submitted by the Conservancy that shows a 20-foot wide corridor with nothing along Wyndham. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and then at a future point, when the applicant came forward with submittals and provided 5 different alternatives to me, which I then submitted to you, you reviewed one that is consistent with the narrowest corridor, not a 40-foot corridor, but that also concedes that 18-foot wide in lieu of the 20-foot wide would be acceptable to you, correct?
Did I ever read that? No.
Yes, that was in an email that was sent to me that's included in the administrative
Well,
record.
18 foot at Stanley Hills, yes.
Correct. And so subsequent to the hearing that was conducted back in September by the commission, that was what was submitted by myself based on what you had provided to me in your authority, the 18 feet. Now we have a number of different situations now. That diagram that I have put up in front of you represents what was presented to me at the time by the applicant, superimposed with what the Conservancy is now proposing. That shows the narrowest window proposal that was ever.
This is why I thank you very much, and basically looking through all these site plans, that's what I was trying to clarify, and I think Mr. Lucia would agree with the previous comment that I made. I wanted to see the overall site plan that his current proposal was based upon. You had informed me that it was based upon this, talking to Mr. Elliman, it was based upon 40 foot. Then it goes back to what was just discussed, that you originally agreed to this iteration based upon 18 feet. Is that correct? What I'm trying to do, Mr. Elliman, what I'm trying to do right now is, first off, big picture. What is the big picture that we're looking at as far as the site plan is concerned? My understanding was that the big picture was tied into the animal route along Wyndham Street. Then there was additional considerations, and I believe you had mentioned, please correct me if I misstate your testimony. I believe you mentioned by adding additional width to the animal route towards the Wyndham side would compensate for the reduction of the animal corridor next to the property. Is that right?
Correct.
That's the reason why I was trying to get a clarification between Mr. Lucian, yourself, and myself, because I was actually quite confused. Because there's so many overall site plans versus the snapshot. Having said that, now we need to circle back for a second. If I understood Ms. White correctly, this was based upon an 18-foot animal corridor. Is that correct?
No, that's based upon that whole, I said in my testimony, a whole corridor with all its parts of a little narrow connection at Stanley Hills, winding its way around. Its roots were an 18-foot corridor, yes. More from an 18-foot corridor to what you see.
Actually, what I'm talking about is in terms of next to Wyndham Road, the original animal route that was been proposed. This was based upon an 18-foot animal route along Wyndham. Was that correct?
The original iteration, yes, as prepared by Ms. White, or the
And is that in conjunction with your proposal, for this particular iteration?
Is it in conjunction with our,
Was this based upon an 18-foot animal route next to me?
no, based on meaning, is it adequacy dependent on that, or is that's where it's stemmed from?
I apologize, I'm not an expert in terms of animal rights, I'm just trying to walk through it. My understanding was that Wyndham, by adding, increasing the width on the Wyndham side from 18 to 40 feet, that it would help compensate for the reduction of the animal corridor next to Marywood Drive.
Perfect.
Correct. So the question, what I'm trying to understand for myself, and just understand, nail down the sequence of events, is that this particular proposal was based upon an 18-foot animal route next to Wyndham, if I understood Ms. White correctly.
Oh,
Everybody in the audience, please, no comments, keep it quiet, no personal attacks. We conduct our meeting the way that we feel is appropriate. So, Mr. Ellis, please.
Is what you're asking why there's a differentiation in the width coming up along the southern property boundary?
Yeah, actually, what I'm talking about is the animal route next to Wyndham. It was from 18 feet and about 40 feet. What I'm trying to understand is, as far as this particular proposal, was it originally based on 18 feet?
So, Mr. Acevedo,
No, what happened is,
Mr.
when
Things are
we,
done very slowly.
Paul Edelman, when we had our last on-site compromise meeting, the applicant put forward the plan that we put forward today, which is pretty much wall-to-wall conservation behind the retaining wall up to Wyndham. And every little scrap of land between their house and the property line and the driveway, that's where that wall-to-wall conservation easement behind the house that's going up to Wyndham came from. That was the origination of it.
Also, input here. Based on what I've looked through, this Commissioner Martorell, based on what I've looked through and said, this is what I thought for the sequences of events. Looking at Lynn Wyatt's, Administrator Lynn Wyatt's initial plan, you had basically the corridor at 18 feet along the ring that then went to 32 feet and now went to 40 feet. And the expansion on Wyndham was made based on the reduction on Marywood, fronting Marywood. The corridor went from 20 to 18 and now 15. And then along this fronting Stanley Hills Drive, it went from 10 feet to 5 feet. Is based on what I understand as far as the sequence of events.
Paul Edelman, that's perfect the way you did that.
So my understanding of this case is that this is an appeal to the clarification letter regarding condition 19 to adopt the conservatory's compromise plan. For me, what I'm going to be looking for are three basic things here, and they are principal issues here. One is whether we have established a viable and functional corridor. And by corridor, we are defining it as a corridor that's based on the migratory patterns of the animals. Number two is whether the easement is to the satisfaction of the conservatory. And then number three, this is not necessarily an issue, but the applicant had made an argument on it being taking. In my opinion, I don't see it as a taking because the applicant still has access to the property and can still develop the property to the site. And that the conservatory has already made a very generous compromise from reducing the corridor along Marywood from 20 feet to 15 feet, and then on Stanley Hills Drive from 10 feet to 5 feet. So that's already a pretty generous compromise. Applicant is making the argument that they are willing to reduce the driveway, but not to bisect the house and the garage.
I would quibble with a couple of points, and I'd like to make those points, but I agree in a general way, but I'd also like to make a couple of points.
So those are my understanding.
In good faith, we offered the 40-foot on Windham as a, you want to call it an offset to the more narrow easement near Marywood. And also, we also offered to vacate Marywood, but that has not been accepted. But this whole idea of the Conservancy stating we're compromising from 20, it's just important to remember in 2008, they made a request and a recommendation to the city for 20 feet. So they're compromising from, it'd be like going to a car dealer, I want to pay $5,000 for the car, and I'll compromise up to 8 or 10 with the list sticker is 20. It's a request, their original 20 feet was never agreed to. It was a request, a recommendation. I don't know how else to say it. The letter's in the record, signed from the Conservancy. He states request, he states recommendation. It was in that environmental review. So to compromise from that 20 feet and take, whatever you want to say, take the house or flip the house, it's not much of a compromise. It was a rigid position in the beginning. We're trying to do a faithful resolve, but we offer to vacate Marywood. No, that's not good. We'll give 40 feet at Windham. You can't come up with a compromise. You take everything we offer, take the 40 feet, and take the house and take the garage, or flip and flip, and then say that's a compromise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rochelle. Mr. Sal, do you have any further questions, comments?
I can just, Commissioner, Mr. Erdogan, as a final clarification for my purposes, it's your position that the recommendation for this corridor should be 40 feet on Wyndham Road, down to where Mary, and where Marywood, and, where is this? Stand, exactly, means it would go from a 20-foot to an 18-foot, 15 to a 15-foot corridor.
That's not what's on the Conservancy document in front of you, but that would be, that would work.
That is your position currently? Because there was
Sort of
three.
It's a backtracking of what we have in our document before you. That gets us through the hoop. Conservancy can agree with it. It's 40 feet in the back of the window to the northeast property corner, 40 feet wrapping down. And then, as you described on the record a minute ago, down to 2018, and then narrowing down to allow them to have the driveway as Stanley Hills.
Thank you for the clarification.
Sir, this Commissioner Acevedo, just one question. The corridor in what's been described as the cliff part of the property, that corridor, just from looking at the site plan, it looks like it's currently about 15 feet. I'm talking about the area that's described as being clipped. If you look at the plans, from looking at this document. Is there for the wildlife corridor to work, abutting the existing location of the building, is that corridor there, if there was some way to be able to describe that in some legal fashion, too small for a corridor to pass for wildlife?
It's got too many bad elements. It's got the tall building, it's got bad terrain, unknown drainage, and unknown land use directly next door, and too narrow, like you mentioned. So it's got 4 negatives against it, and that's why we're pushing the 15.
Thank you, that is my final question. Commissioner, do you have any other questions? Ms. White, do you have any?
I think the only point of clarification that I would like on your dimensions here at the driveway apex as to what those dimensions should be, because there is a variation based on photographs that were provided that have dimensions. And ultimately, you've got 5 plus 10, which is 15, but my understanding is that there's only 14-foot frontage, and there's variations on that. So what's the minimum that you would be required to have there at the juncture?
It's very simple. It's if you look really close at that, it is 5 feet on his property where it touches Stanley Hills, and then that widens as you, up to the 15 feet.
So the total of 15 feet that you want there, because shown here, that is, looks like 5 and 5.
Well, the 5 is on Marywood, so that's different. It's only
So-
5 on Mr. Tia's property, on 2244.
Okay. But the total width for the corridor there would be 10 feet minimum?
Well, it would be, but I mean, as far as this
We're
application.
going to need that for building and safety and engineering and all of that, so to the extent that I have an actual dimension as to what that would be,
Yes, Paul, the 10 feet is fine. Per that diagram.
That's why, yeah.
Give us 1 second, Mr. Bishop. Did that clarify your question regarding the?
I'm looking at, when you look at this diagram, you look at the dimension between the two blue, the blue line only, is that dimension that fronts on the family hill, that they total 10 feet in width at that point. Correct?
Paul, I'm correct, 5 feet on 2244 and 5 feet on Marywood of that 10 dimension.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong, you want to point?
Yes, point of, point of clarification, the current plans submitted to building and safety show 14 feet, not 10 feet, 14 feet. So that would be the driveway width.
And Commissioner Saliba, how do you, the 14 feet is what, how many feet are on how many feet are on either side of the property?
Excuse me, ma'am.
How many feet are on either side of the property? I understand that currently 5 feet of the 15 feet are on 2244, and the other 10 feet, or 10 feet are on 2244, and the other 5 feet are not.
Commissioner Wayne Amersham, I'd like the owner of the property to answer this. He's intimately familiar with that one question.
Is it?
Terry Abbey. The width of the property at its narrowest point, which is the opening towards Stanley Hills Drive, is 14 feet 09 inches. That means about 14 feet. Since the minimum width required by the city, and while it's been verified that it's 10 feet, the maximum that we can give the conservancy is 4 feet at that point. It's the narrowest point, and not 5 feet.
I understand.
So, Wayne Amersham, again, what we suggested is grant the easement over 4 feet beyond the 10-foot minimum plus the 10 feet. So it would be a 14-foot easement. And if there's any further questions on the corridor viability, Dr. Goodman is here to answer any questions.
So do you have an opinion on the easement portion?
I think that my understanding and looking at all of this is that at the end of the day, the conservancy would accept a 10-foot minimum. The applicant is actually able to offer a total of 14 through the combination of the easement and what would be on Marywood. And so that we could go anywhere from 10 to 14, depending on what ultimately happens with the final definition of the driveway. Mr. Bouchon.
Mr. Kulishan speaking. Two things that are really important regarding what you're talking about. Number one is there may or may not be a vacation. Even if there is a vacation, Mr. Tucci could be sitting there going right down the street saying, I don't care what the city did, they can't take away my right, and you can't put a wildlife, you can't preserve this. So it's nice that it's on there, and again, it's wishful thinking on everyone's part, trying to get compromise. You know, you all know, you try, and sometimes certainty is easier on some issues, and it's pie in the sky in others. So the focus is really on the private property, the applicant. The second thing is that as long as the easement that would go to, it's really the MRCA, calling it the Conservancy, as long as the easement, as Mr. Edelman said, allows the construction of a portion of a driveway as may be legally required. Really doesn't, I don't know that it matters whether it's 10 feet or the 14 feet. They're going to get their driveway. It's going to function at that now as a wildlife corridor. But I do think that Commissioner Kim is going in the right direction to make sure, and I'm using my words again, that we all, and you get it right consistent with what plan you adopt. Whether you go with the applicant's plan, which wouldn't require any revisions to their plans, or you go with the Conservancy Compromise plan that might,